Hello and welcome to the Formula Art YouTube channel. I'm David Johnson and today I'm here at the awesome Silverstone Museum. I'll be walking you through their incredible displays and also my art exhibition. So join me as we check it out. Today I'm joined by Rob Jaina, who's worked on a daily basis with these cars and bikes. Good to see you, Rob.
Good to see you, David. Nice to have you back at the museum. Yeah, you're right. I have an amazing job. I get to look after these fantastic cars and bikes and spend time with them. And we're going to start by looking in detail at this. It doesn't need much of an introduction, though, does it?
No.
No.
It's incredible to see it up close as well.
Yeah, I mean, that iconic red 5 at the front is the first thing you notice when you see it. But it is that phenomenal FW14B, the car that took Nigel Mansell to his only World Championship win back in 1992. And it was a really, really special car. Whenever you see those polls of the top 5 Grand Prix cars of all time, it's always up there, isn't it? With the MP44 McLaren and maybe the Maserati 250F. It's stunning. And what I love is it's so simple. There's none of those little bits of air ducting, none of the barge boards, none of that. When you stand up close to it, it's just the pure tub and the carbon fibre and the engine, and it's just epic.
It's amazing how little protection there actually is around the driver as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the days pre the awful tragedies that happened in 1994. So there's no high sides, there's no head protection for the driver. Certainly no halo, which obviously didn't come in until 2018. And that really visible thing that people recognise. You're right. There is none of that driver protection, but this car was so significant. With the active ride suspension, it put this car at the front of the grid at virtually every single race, and even the great Ayrton Senna in the McLaren that year wasn't able to really come close a lot of the time. This car was absolutely iconic, and it's a real pleasure that we've got it here. And like you say, you're getting to stand right up close to it.
Yeah, it's quite an honour to be this close for a start and have a good look around as well. It's a car that I'm currently painting.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Although actually I say that it's the year before when Senna the ride on the back.
Yeah, the 14 rather than the 14B.
That's right.
Yeah, you can. A really sad fact. Actually, the real difference is these bits that sit out here. That's the real difference. So when you do your painting, you'll notice that because you've got this bit here isn't there in the car. But other than that, it does almost look identical. But it was that technical development that happened with the active ride suspension, all those other bits that happened. When you look inside the car, I know the camera can't quite see inside the car, but you see how different it is, how simple it is in comparison to a modern Formula One car. And then we've got other examples of here.
So this is the next highlight of yours from the exhibition?
Yeah, bizarre one when you consider all of the fantastic cars and bikes that we've got here. And what I'm showing you is actually 3 sheets of paper. But back in pre-1995, the format for a Grand Prix race meeting on a Sunday was that drivers used to do a morning warm-up, then they used to go to a driver's briefing, and they used to hand sign on. So the drivers hand signed on, as did the team principals.
Wow.
And what we've got here is linked back to the car that we were looking at in a minute, is that sign-on sheet from 1992. And the first thing that jumps out at you are the phenomenal list of world champions that are on that list. So you've got Ayrton Senna, you've got Nigel Mansell, you've got Damon Hill, you've got Michael Schumacher in his first British Grand Prix on there, you've got Mika Häkkinen, you've got other iconic names there, people like Jean Alesi, Gerhard Berger, who I'm sure viewers will know. And it's just a real piece of history. Now, the only driver missing that year, of course, was Alain Prost, who took his sabbatical in 1992 and then came back and won the world title in 1993 with Williams.
Right, so for Rob's last highlight on display here at the museum is the incredible Tyrell. I'm going to hand it over to you, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the 003, and I know you've done a fantastic painting of this car. So the legend of Jackie Stewart, and this is the car that he used in 1971 for his championship winning year. Also won the British Grand Prix here at Silverstone in this car. It's a car that is in his family. and we're really lucky to have it here. Talked to Jackie around and talked to him about this car, and he said to drive it, it was phenomenal. In the early days of the front and rear wings, not being on those stalks anymore that were actually being fixed in the car, these cars were phenomenally quick. The fabulous Ford engine was really, brutally quick. And this car, you'd be topping 180 to 185 mile an hour, but it was the cornering ability these cars had started to have. As you move towards these hugely wide axles with wide tyres, but also that front and rear aerodynamics had really started to push these cars on and become very successful. Quite a dangerous car when you look in it. These bits here are the fuel tanks, and literally the driver is sitting in amongst the fuel cell. So yeah, quite a dangerous car. And the other thing is, you may know that Sir Jackie used to have a small spanner attached to the steering wheel, and that was there to be able to take the steering wheel off should he be in an accident, to help him get out. Obviously, Sir Jackie was a pioneer in motorsport safety and took a lot of things, a lot of the safety initiatives forwards, in not just the cars, but the marshalling systems, the medical systems, and the circuit safety. And he was a real pioneer. This car is legendary. It's one of the most successful, statistically, one of the most successful Grand Prix cars that existed. It won races in 1971 and through into 1972. But it's also stunning to look at, isn't it? And I know your painting is brilliant that you've done of this one. I love it. When the exhibition, you've got that really big painting of it. It's great. But yeah, this is a brilliant car. It's still a runner. It still goes out and does demonstrations and things. And you notice there's the Goodwood stickers on the side here.
Right, yeah.
So it's been out and done the demonstrations and things. And we're really privileged to have it here. So, David, you've had a chance to ask me some questions about the exhibits here at the museum, but I walk through this fantastic exhibition regularly, 3 or 4 times a day at least, and I love the paintings here. And I want to ask you some questions. So we've just been looking at this car, Sir Jackie's 1971 003 Tyrrell. Why have you chosen to paint this one?
Well, I'd worked with Sir Jackie for a few projects earlier to this, and what I was privileged to have was a tour of his garage at his home. And this was one of the cars on display, which is now on display here. And I just knew I had to paint it. The beautiful shapes and colours would be a joy to capture on canvas. So for me, this is one of my favourite pieces.
Well, one of the things I want to ask you, I love how these little paint flecks, now I'm no artist, but I've noticed with these paint flecks, they really add an energy to it. Is that the idea behind it?
Yeah, because from the fine art days to the palette knife, there wasn't much freedom. What I wanted to capture is what I saw on a photograph. And the moment I changed to the palette knife, it gave me so much more. And it captures the movement, the energy and the excitement from a piece. So when I'm working away on a certain area, I'd use that paint and flick it onto the canvas. That's as technical as it gets, really. But I'm really pleased with how they look with that style.
Yeah, it really adds some vibrancy to it. And I particularly like this one. And its size, it looks great. I mean, all the others do look really good, but this one really stands out, and it pops with the colours of the tartan that you've already mentioned, and these little flecks of paint.
Now, one of the things I'm really proud about here at the Silverstone Museum is, aside from the artwork, my display of helmets. Now, you may know I'm a bit of a sucker when it comes to collecting memorabilia and all sorts, but what I try and do now with the drivers is get them to sign something. And for me, it's either my auto courses or the visors for these helmets. So hopefully in the future exhibitions, you'll see a little bit more added to the display.
Okay, so we've moved over to talk about something we haven't actually touched on today, and that's bike racing.
Yes.
We've got some awesome bike riders here, and I particularly recognise Barry Sheen, as we've got a couple of his bikes here in the exhibition. So, first question, how do you choose the subjects within the bike racing? How do you choose who to paint?
Well, my first exhibition at the MotoGP here at Silverstone, I wanted to obviously capture Valentino. I've done that a few times now, but it was the current driver of the time, and it was Marc Marquez. And it was quite interesting when painting him in my marquee, the comments from the Rossi fans. I can't repeat all of those comments, but yeah, I think they had their favourite driver, to be honest.
Oh, so it's good that actually the public are interacting then, because it gets things
Yes, they
set
are.
up. Excellent, that's really good. So, is it harder to paint a bike than a car? Do you find it more difficult?
Yeah, it's quite an intense process. There's just so much more detail to capture, especially with Ross's helmet here. And that was all done at the circuit as well. So I had the elements of the weather that was changing throughout the weekend, and it has to be spot on. So lots of images for reference.
So that one's come out brilliantly. If you had all those other issues, I didn't realise you had all those other issues going on. Is it harder to? Because you obviously what you don't have with the motorsport or the car bit, you haven't got the body parts on show.
No.
Does that add an extra dimension of difficulty?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, painting the levers is a lot of fun. Getting the shape and the movement of the levers, I find it quite an easy process. But it's all of the sponsors. It's everything else basically, which is quite a timely and, as I say, intense process. But I'm really pleased with, as you mentioned with the Sajaki one, when they're enlarged, you can see all of the movements of the paint with the palette knife.
Yeah, they do look brilliant, and there is a definite, when you see them in this enlarged size, it's a different sort of energy, isn't it? You can really see, but that's bike racing, isn't it? You see a different. You really see the protagonists actually working, and not say they're working harder than a car driver, but you can see the bodies working in a way that you can't in the cars, and it really shows in these paintings. They are absolutely fantastic.
No, thank you. And that was one of the things I noticed my first time at Silverstone at the MotoGP. You see it all on telly, but the moment you're standing on a bank looking down on the riders, as you say, moving around on that bike at the speeds they're going at, I'm happy it's them and not me on that occasion.
Yeah, seriously brave. Now, one of the things we haven't got on display here, because the thing I think of the bravest are some of those road races, the Isle of Man TT.
Yes.
You've done some work with some of those sort of the races racing at the Isle of Man and those road races.
Yeah, so John McGuinness, I've captured, that was using pencils.
Okay.
I'd love to do a few more Isle of Man pieces with a palette knife. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I've seen lots of YouTube videos. It's on my bucket list to go, but the speed they're going at, so close to the fans as well. Yeah, got to go check that out.
It's really brave stuff. So, David, last one we're going to have a little bit of a detailed look at, and we can't go away without looking at one of your most popular paintings. This is Lando Norris. Tell us about the background to this one.
So with this one, Lando, he's had about 9 paintings of mine now, and you might notice when he's gaming away behind him, you'll always see David Johnson original, well, most of the time. But again, it puts a little bit more pressure on me because I want to make sure everything is exactly how it should be, all the detail, all the vibrancy. But again, I'm really pleased with how this has turned out.
Brilliant. And is Lando, as a kind of customer, because I know you paint some pictures for him, is he quite demanding or is he quite relaxed? How is he?
He's pretty relaxed. I mean, I've done a few projects and for those, he doesn't give much of a brief. It's just freestyle it, do what you want to do. So I'm happy with that. There
is actually a story that the viewers won't know about when I went with you to get one of a set of Lando paintings signed. Do you want to tell the viewers about it?
To be honest, I'm sure I didn't put it there, but I'll let you do it because I think you should get the blame.
So we were in the McLaren motorhome at the Grand Prix last year,
yeah.
And it's all glass, isn't it? And we thought we'd rested one of your paintings against the wall. Little did we know it was Andreas Seidel, who was the team principal at McLaren at the time. It was his office. He opened the door and the painting fell on him. And I believe Zach Brown was stood with us at the time and was going to charge him. What did he say? About a couple of £1,000 for your painting for the damage or something?
Yeah, I think we got away with it in the end though. But, that might have been me shrugging it off your way, but
yeah,
we sorted that
but
out.
It was one of those amusing. No damage was done to the painting, was it?
No.
It's great. So, are you planning on more Lando ones for this year?
So yes, I've got a few things in line with Lando. I can't mention all of them, but I will be capturing his season again on canvas. That's all I can say at the moment.
Brilliant. So that's something for the YouTube viewers to really look out for.
Yeah.
Is what's coming with Lando Norris.
So thank you for joining me in today's video. I look forward to seeing you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you again soon.